donkey of the day right there.
The Breakfast Club, bitches.
You can call me the donkey of the day, but I mean no harm.
All right, donkey of the day for Monday, April the 4th. Goes to the Memorial Hermann Hospital in Humboldt, Texas. They say everything is big in Texas, and that also applies to the size of the stupidity. Now, we talk about trauma a lot nowadays, okay? One of my favorite things to tell people is that if you don't deal with your trauma will eventually deal with you. Everybody processes trauma differently. If you are trying to figure out what is trauma, it's simply an emotional response to something negative that has happened to you. Okay, it's 3 types of trauma. You got acute trauma from a single incident, chronic trauma, which is something repeated and prolonged, such as domestic violence or abuse, and then complex trauma, which is exposure to varied and multiple traumatic events, often of an invasive interpersonal nature. Okay, when it comes to today's Donkey of the Day and why Memorial Hermann Hospital is getting Donkey of the Day, it's because they caused a queen named Betty Harris to have either acute or complex trauma. Now, what they did would have made for an incredibly traumatic but very entertaining April Fool's Day joke, but it didn't happen on April Fool's. It actually happened back in early March 7th to be exact, okay? Betty visited her husband, Brian Harris, at Deerbrook Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Listen to what I said. Betty visited her husband, Brian Harris, at Deerbrook Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. The visit went well, okay? But the next day, she got a call from Memorial Hermann Hospital, and it went like this. Let's go to NBC News for the report, please.
Back on March 8th, Betty Harris says she got what may be the worst phone call of her life. It came from a strange number she quickly learned was Memorial Hermann Hospital in Humble.
He said, "It's about your husband." I said, "My husband?" I said, "My husband is in a rehabilitation." And he said, "No, your husband is at the emergency room." I said, "Emergency room?" So he said, "Yeah." He said, "He stopped breathing." I said, "He stopped breathing?" I said, "So what's wrong?" I said, he all right?" He said, "He dead."
Harris says she was devastated and also confused because she had just left her husband Bryant at the Deerbrook Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center the day before, where he was recovering from a knee surgery. But at the hospital, Harris got an even bigger surprise when it was time to identify the body.
"No, that's not my husband." And I was very upset.
Harris says she learned the mix-up began at Deerbrook, where someone passed off Brian's chart when rushing another man to Memorial Hermann, where he died.
Probably was a mistake, you understand? But it was just so horrifying.
Betty, who we suing for emotional distress? Okay? That's the kind of information, the kind of news that can cause fatally inducing stress. Betty could have had a heart attack right there on the spot. Betty could have taken that news so hard that she did something harmful to herself in that moment. She could have been so devastated that she could have killed herself. And she clearly really believed y'all because the news report said she called family and friends crying hysterically. Personally, if I was her, I would have called my husband. Okay, I'm not believing you dead until I hear it from you. Seriously, we live in an era where the internet is always killing people off. They're always making up stories at any given time. So the first person I would call when I hear about a loved one being dead is my loved one. If they don't answer, then there's cause for concern. Okay, then I start calling around the family and friends. But it doesn't matter because clearly Betty was in a state of shock. She was in a state of disbelief. Memorial Hermann Hospital, for a brief moment, remixed her whole life. And on top of that, she had to go down there and identify a body that wasn't her body, and all she received thus far is an apology? Huh? The Deerbrook Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center apologized for the mix-up, but the hospital, Memorial Hermann, has not responded to the incident, but the rehabilitation center basically said, "My bad. Our team regrettably transferred a patient to the hospital with incorrect identifying paperwork. I appreciate the apology, but that doesn't take away the stress and trauma that I experienced simply because DoorDash bought me the wrong order." Okay? I hope Betty Harris sues the hell out of this hospital for emotional distress, okay, for the emotional harm that you suffered. If a hospital tells you that your husband died a day after you just left your husband in a rehab and you didn't even know he was in the hospital, then guess what? You deserve it all, okay? Betty, I heard you say you just want the hospital and rehab facility to have better communication between the two. I agree, but that means nothing. You are hurt, Betty, okay? Don't get up, all right? Stay on the ground. They didn't have a wet floor sign out, all right? Your neck is hurt, your back is hurt, your head is hurt. Wait, what do you mean you can't hear me, Betty? Betty, you can't hear me? Hello? Hello? What? You can't see me either? Oh, we have to do something about this. Sounds to me like you are entitled to some form of compensation. okay? Please give Memorial Hermann Hospital in Humble, Texas, the biggest hee-haw. Where are the lawyers to help Betty out? Is this not a slam dunk lawsuit?
My goodness.
Come on now.
Donkey of the Day is brought to you by the law office of Michael S. Lamonsoff. Don't be a donkey. Dial pound 250 on your cell and say the bull if you've been hurt in a construction accident. That's pound 250 from your cell and say the bull.